Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan is a city that was discovered by the Aztecs. It was not an Aztec city. They discovered it when it was already in ruins and it had already been abandoned. But according to the Smart History video with Dr. Lauren Eubank and Dr. Beth Harris, they believe that the original culture of the Teotihuacanos began in 100 AD and lasted till about 700 AD. Um, Now, the Aztecs didn't find Teotihuacan until about the 1300s. Here's a wider spread image of the city. You can see it was many buildings. It was a massive city. And this is one of the pyramids. I believe that is the Sun Pyramid, which is the largest pyramid in Teotihuacan. It's one of the largest structures in the ancient world as well. And here's another pyramid here that I've colored. Um, as you can see, they're very rich in color. There's a lot of red within the city. And then Teotihuacan has three pyramids. They have the Pyramid of the Sun, which we talked about is the biggest. And then they have the Pyramid of the Moon, and then they have Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. So again, here's one of the pyramids. Now, we don't know much about the origin culture of Teotihuacan. We don't know their language. We don't know anything about the original builders. But according to Dr. Lauren Eubank and Dr. Beth Harris, they believe that whoever did have power or whoever was ruling, whether it was a governance or one person, we don't know much about that either, but whoever it was had a massive support and just a massive power to be able to um, garner so many laborers to build such an extravagant, massive city with such a mathematical precision. Everything in this city is just so precise, and so it's an incredible discovery as far as the city. But unfortunately, we're still trying to figure out who the actual origin culture belongs to. The name given to them is the only name we know them by because we don't even know what they call themselves. But Dr. Lauren Eubank and Beth Harris do officially name them or refer to them as the Teotihuacanos. So like I said, I showed you earlier before the coloring and just the painting. It was a city full of bright colors, lots of red, and lots of murals. Our lecture with Dr. Estrada briefly discusses the murals that are decorated in all of the apartments and all of the rooms within Teotihuacan. So this is one of those murals. They are referred to as fresco paintings, fresco meaning fresh. So they were made with fresh plaster. And as you can see here again, just one of the many murals. It was a deep part of their culture to have these murals with a lot of animal elements. So here we have a jaguar. And one thing that I did notice when I was doing this piece was that these actually look a lot like Tlaloc, the god that we discussed previously in my last video. You can see here, I'll try to show it up very close. You can see his, sorry, this is difficult, his goggled eyes, his ears spooled, and his fanged teeth. Those are some of the main features that we identify him by. And so I thought it was very interesting that there are images of Tlaloc within Teotihuacan, or at least what looked like Tlaloc. Now, Teotihuacan is right outside of Mexico City. It's not too far, so it is fairly close to Tenochtitlan. So I did think that was very interesting, that connection that they share. And then another one of the murals that we discussed on one of the main ones is actually this, um, the goddess of Teotihuacan. So there's not one definitive decision that's unanimous throughout researchers and anthropologists that this is one deity or who this is. But we do refer to it as the goddess of Teotihuacan. And some of the main features that the goddess of Teotihuacan have in every mural, although they change and they're different, the main things that remain are the large headdress and the nose spool right here, the nose pendant. Those are some of the key features that we use to identify the goddess of Teotihuacan in the various murals that we find her throughout the city. And so the goddess of Teotihuacan was found in 1942 by Alfonso Caso, but it wasn't identified until about 1972 by Peter First. But most of the understanding that we're going to talk about today comes from Esther Pasturi. She analyzed and determined many of the understandings of the imagery that you find within the goddess of Teotihuacan and the murals. So some of the main features and the main things that she points out is her hands are always open and facing outward, so very giving. And she constantly has the water, the droplets, and the flow of water coming out of her hands. Also very symbolic, giving. And so ultimately, what Pastry um, determines is that she has both a creative and a destructive side. So again, she's usually featured as very large and mountainous over the worshippers that are beneath her. And so Esther Pastory really gives her this goddess of fertility and goddess of death. She believes that that is how they worshipped her and how they saw her based on the features of giving and the features of the water, and that is the goddess of Teotihuacan. So there's a lot of culture and history that we're finding within the fresco paintings, the murals, and the architecture. And slowly, anthropologists are trying to find more about the origin culture of the city of Teotihuacan.